friends, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we are doing special things. Right now, it is 3:20 p.m., 2018, Samhain, so happy upcoming New Year tomorrow to everyone in our witchy community, and happy, thinnest, we should be happy celebration of the time that we should be doing a lot of workings. And the working I'm doing right now, I'm doing it particularly to refresh this anti-negativity oil that I create, and I've talked about it 25-30 times on my channel, and I keep saying I'm going to show it to you. I have a quartz crystal in here. I apply it with a quartz crystal, and this is amazing stuff. It smells like utter brilliance, and it takes me a long time to set up videos if I take everything off the shelf and put it back. So in this video, you're going to see me getting up and back, but I'll be able to put out more video content today. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the time because of so much I have to do. Today, as it is, the veil is thin and workings are grand at this moment. Also, when women are menstruating, please don't leave my channel because I say this. I woke up with my gift, and what a beautiful time to have it during the time of Halloween, of Samhain, of the veil being thin, and the spell work already being amplified by the veil being thin. But not only that, but now I have moon blood that I'm going to preserve either in vitamin E oil or by freezing it or by both methods, that I can use from when I had my moon on Samhain. And so that to me is really special. That will be an ingredient that I will keep until, and use very, very seldom until the next time it happens, which may never happen again, let's be honest, I'm getting up there in my years, and I've only got a few more chances left, probably like 10 or 15 chances left of years of, utilize your menstruation when you have it. That's what I'm trying to say, and when it comes on special times of our, of our witchcraft calendar, of the Wiccan year, if you follow Wicca, it's really fantastic to be gifted that. And I'm saying thank you to my spirits, and thank you to my gods, and thank you to the earth for letting me attune during the thinning of the veil. I would love to hear your opinions on this in the comments. You're more than welcome to leave them. I would really enjoy hearing everyone's opinions. I only wear this necklace when I am on my moon, and so you will know that as a clue in any video. If I've got this on, I'm using my special power, and I'll refer to it, but not always say my big spiel like I just said. So, there you go. If you're new to my channel and I'm wearing this necklace, I'm harnessing the power of my moon. Alright, so, this I made before I started my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel about 3.5 months ago, and I have about 350 videos. It's insane. More than that. And when I first started watching YouTube and becoming inspired by YouTubers, Lady Gravedancer was, and still is, one of my very, very, very favorites, and I honor and respect her. And Tequila, if you ever get to see my channel, I'm so happy. And I would love to meet you someday, maybe. So, I am doing, I don't remember what she called it on her channel, but this oil's inspired by Lady Gravedancer and something she did, an oil she did. Maybe it was called Magical Quartz Oil. I'm calling this my protection from negativity and depression oil. So, let me read you, I type my spells on my typewriter so that as I'm creating them or adapting them, I can note it down. I do my little creations, I do my note over here, right? Something you can kind of do as you go. However, I've had to replace a couple of typewriters because the keys were sticky. So you gotta clean it, or like a frankincense got stuck down there and like nobody could get it out. I don't know. Still working on that one. Alright, so for this here oil, in a small skinny cur jar, I added a quartz crystal that had been blessed by the previous full moon, and then I added a drop of menstrual blood to a cloudy part of the crystal. I've been bonding with it the last week and a half now. It is May 28th, 2017. And what did I say? I've been bonding with it the last week and a half now. It's a beautiful quartz crystal point that I got from Phoenix Rising in Port Townsend. The cost was $25. I know I can get them cheaper online, but I love this one because I was able to physically pick it out by hand and bond with it. And that's important too, you guys. I thought it was important enough I needed to put it in my spell, you know. But I like typing where I got my ingredients from. Like if I use a key, I say what key it was and what I used it to, what it was used for. Like if it was a post office key or a door key to work or my car key, whatever. So I try and make as many notes in the spell as possible, so that when you go to change or alter it, or if you used a different something the next time, you might know why it didn't work as well or why it worked better. All of these things in this room, 80% of it is replaceable, right? But 20% of it is like so precious that I don't know, it would bring me to tears if I lost even one of these spells, because I put so much detail into how I've changed it, okay? So that's something I suggest to you to do. I saged and Palo Santo'd the jar out, and then I added the clear quartz point upwards toward the lid, because I wanted it to be, when I put it in the moonlight, the crystal point pointing toward the moon to absorb it, okay? Here's the crystal point that I use, and I'll show you how I apply it to my skin. When you pull it out of the jar, it's just dripping. Okay, and now, since I used my DNA, my menstrual blood, to anoint this, I only use this on myself. Let me be clear about this, okay? And then you can just, there's a good amount of oil that sticks on there, and once you hear what's inside, you're just going to be so excited. But it's amazing to use a quartz wand as an applicator. And when you give these as gifts, and again, if you give it as a gift, don't put the blood on there. If you give these as gifts, it's just, people freak out when they're like, what, you apply it with a quartz crystal? Oh my gosh, so that's one of the things. If somebody wanted to purchase a jar of these from me, this jar of oil, everything filled up, is $45 plus tax and shipping. The quartz crystal is $25. And I spend a lot of time, enchanting that oil and putting my intention into it. So, if you do end up wanting one of these oils and don't have the means to make it yourself, let me know and I can make one up for you. So let's get back to the spell. So when I placed the lid on, the clear quartz point was pointed up, okay? Then I placed in a large dried chunk of white sage that I had thrown out of the end of an old smudge stick. So when you're, and this is what I'm going to show you what it is. When your sage burns down, and then you're left with just like the butt that's too short to burn because it could burn your fingers. Well, I open those up and then I use the bits that are left in my oils. And then I also, so when I said I Palo Santo'd out the jar and I saged it, this is Palo Santo. And you use the smoke just like you'd use a sage smudge. Okay. And if you guys haven't seen the actual size of this giant abalone shell, let me show it to you next to a regular shell, because it's just insane. This is the normal size. This is the size I found thrifting the other day. Like, look how big that is in comparison. Let's do that again. They're humongous! Really beautiful on the back. Anyway, these are just kind of a traditional way to hold your sage, but I found that giant one thrifting. I was like, oh my gosh, it's humongous! And the energy in that is really something. If you want to know how to make your own in one of these, we did a video on that. So that's where I got my little sage bits and ends. And why I think that's so great is because I've held on to that bottom piece of the sage, okay? That whole time I was burning it and using it for cleansing, I, the witch, held on to this bottom piece where... That's where this came from in the jar, right? That's where this piece came from. I held on to it and I smudged my house. How many times with one of these? 100 times. Cleansed 100 things, you know. My intention, my witchy intention and energy runs through that sage so many times and then it turns into smoke. If you think those bits left over aren't magical, and sometimes we just don't think about it. But start thinking about it and start putting it in a separate jar that's labeled separately. You know, old sage ends with, you know, that energy attached. But what you hold on to, you know, in a sense, this is a wand, right? And as most of you know, but not all of you know, obviously, because of some comments, I'm not a wand girl. I have a wand. I've used it a couple of times. I've tried hard to bond with it, but I never actually have. Yeah, I'm not, you know, Wiccan or pagan, I'm eclectic. So sometimes you'll get these tools and they're just not exactly what you need to work with. So you'll find out along your way. I forgot to write in here, before you do any working, put Florida water on your hands. Pat down your body. Clap 3 times. That 3-time clap will ask spirit to come join you and help you with your working, if that's something you'd like to do. Have a candle burning. A candle will attract spirit as well. Okay, so I placed in the chunk from the smudge stick. Then I held my hands over to feel a strong tingle. So at that point, I noted that when I was holding tension over the sage, I could already feel a strong tingle, and all that was in there was the cleansed jar holding the quartz crystal and that sage chunk. And I noted that I felt a strong tingle. I added frankincense oil over the quartz crystal and sweet orange oil. So, I again took that quartz crystal, I lifted it out of the jar, and then I poured frankincense oil and sweet orange oil. This smells so divine. Alright. Because the herbs that you put into the jar, yes, they're going to infuse the oil with smell, but it's not going to be enough, you know. I put big chunks of frankincense resin in, which we'll get to, and as you'll be able to see in here, you can reuse those chunks, because we are going to refill this oil and just kind of add to it, so I can show you how to refill them. Okay, if you wanted to heighten this, you could burn a candle and write some intention down the side as it's already happened. You could say, this anti-negativity and protection oil has protected Jen throughout 2019, or whatever. But write it's like it's already happened, and burn it during the time you're making your spell. That's something that you could do to amplify. If you didn't know the colors to apply color magic, you can check out my videos, but if you don't have time for that, you can burn a white candle, because white will circumference all colors because it's purity And it's just one of those things that if you don't have a purple candle for this reason, you can use white for any reason. Alright, and you would want to make sure that you cleanse that with Florida water as well, or a bit of sage or Palo Santo. So pouring drops onto the quartz, I'm going to guess that I added 20 or 30 drops. Maybe, because I didn't note it. Shame on me. But my intuition tells me I would have added about 30 drops of the sweet orange oil and maybe about 20 drops of the frankincense oil. The sweet orange oil is a more volatile oil. Citruses are more volatile. In the essential oil world, what volatile means is that the smell is lighter and it will dissipate into the air quicker. Now, frankincense is a lower volatility, and those earthy things like sandalwood, frankincense, patchouli, they're all very low volatility, which means that those smells hang around a lot. Now, when you're mixing up an oil, that's good to know, because you'll know that you need more orange than frankincense, because if you put in too much frankincense, you won't smell any of that orange. And I wish that I had my aromatherapy oil book on hand that I had in massage school, because that's where I learned all this stuff from. I will do a video just on that book and a recommendation for it, because it is flipping amazing. Alright, so more orange oil than frankincense. Let me say 15 drops of frankincense to 20 to 30 drops of orange. Just play around with it until you get the smell right, and you can do more addition at the end if you'd like, or you can just go with my heart feeling there. Okay, so where are we at? Then I added 2 dried orange rings. And those make that oil smell so good. It looks beautiful in the jar. I add it to a lot of my oils. This is an amethyst oil that I made. But the scent, both from the dried fruit and the dried fruit skin, is amazing. The essential oil sits in the skin. So if you add those dried oranges, if you didn't have sweet orange oil, you could squeeze, or you could, you know how when you squeeze the skin of a fresh orange, oil sprays out? That is essential oil. That is in its purest form. So you could go get some organic oranges, or even non-organic, but if you're applying it to your skin, don't use chemical, it's right on the outside. You can get some organic oranges and just, literally, if you just play around with the peel, drops will come out. It would take a few oranges to get, 20 drops, but why not? That's how we could be doing it. You could also zest it and put it in there. Then you're going to have just the peel, fresh. That will have all those oils in there. It's up to you guys. Play around with it, but make sure you write in detail as much as you can so that the next time you go to refresh it, you'll remember. Alright, so the dried orange rings, I dried them myself just for this recipe. Oh, good to know. That's what I dried all the oranges for. Skin and fruit dried ring, add 2 very beautiful ones. Next, the recipe called for applewood, as this represents all 4 elements. I just went with my gut. I had cherry wood, but decided to use the bark of an old fallen tree from my childhood home. So I'm going to get you something to show you what I'm talking about, what I was using. Okay. So a few things. Number 1, this is the wood that I was just speaking about that I ended up using. Just some bark from a tree. This isn't for the smell, it's for the, protection element, I'm sure. I don't remember if she said in the video why we used the wood. Oh, right, to represent all 4 elements. However, I just chose to alter it and put wood from my childhood home because at that home I felt so safe as a child in those woods and climbing that tree in particular that had fallen down the last time I went to visit the house, as we know the people that live there. that tree and that place has always made me feel protected. If I need to feel protected, I can jump to it in my meditations and feel amazing. I can look at pictures of my childhood from when I was there and feel that feeling again through those pictures. So to me, I'm adding that in there for protection. You can find something that to you makes you feel protected and add it in there, even if it's a little plastic toy soldier. You guys know I add toy soldiers to my oils. Why not? And then here are the oranges that I dried along with some peel. But as you can see, there's both the fruit and the skin. And I want to show you these. They're blood oranges. And after you dry them, they're gorgeous. They look amazing in oils. And the smell is crazy, crazy, amazingly yummy. See the pretty color through there? It's nice. So when I refresh this oil, I'm going to be adding these 2 blood oranges to it because it just has regular oranges, I believe. And then the last thing I want to show you is in fact a piece of apple wood, because I've gotten some sense this piece of wood is really awesome. I got it right at the border of Washington and Idaho, and that's a great piece of wood to do border work with. Like if you want separation of things, you want to make a clear borderline in magic. That's, another reason why I collected this very piece of apple wood. And I just found a bit that was fallen below this tree on our road trip. And we got out of the car and I grabbed a piece that was fallen. It's almost big enough to be a staff, but it's just not. It sits right here and the handle's way too low. So, because it would be like this. As funny as that would be. Okay, so do whatever you like in that situation, but just know that the apple wood is in there for the elements of all 4 parts of earth. I just went with my gut out of front. I chunked off a couple of pieces, added intent, and then a few raw frankincense resin chunks. The raw chunks that you use, you can reuse again and again. I added raw sweet myrrh, not ground, in chunks. The smell will last longer that way, I think, Tequila said. Have to add more if you do it into a powder. And if you do your incenses into a powder, like in your special mortar and pestle that is just for resins, because guys, they are sticky, and they're so sticky that when the powder is done, there's this like gumball that you can make a incense cone out of, and this is a frankincense or gumball, and you can burn that on a coal disc. You can put chunks into your wax burner. This is what powdered dragon's blood looks like, just kind of a pink powder. And then I've only got a little bit left. No, it's pretty much empty. Powdered frankincense is just light brown. So I keep them powdered. I keep them whole, and then I also have the gum chunks. Where's my frankincense? Frankincense? Where did you go? Oh, there you are, hiding. Okay, frankincense. Beautiful. So when you add, one of these big chunks, you don't have to add much more to it. I'm probably going to add some of this powder from the very bottom. At the bottom there's a powder. So I'll be adding some more of that to refresh it, but no more big chunks, because I think I have 3 giant chunks. Alright. Okay, so you'll see me refresh. I put 2 orange slices, 2 little chunks in there. I don't think I'm going to add this, but at the end I'll kind of check that out and evaluate it again. But these are not cheap, these big jars of frankincense, but I've had it for a really long time, because a little bit goes a long way. And the smell is so much different than a frankincense oil, or even the frankincense incense that you're burning, where it's the powdered, this on the stick. It's just so much different, especially using it in these precious oils. Now you're going to apply to your skin. So, what's next? It was not in the recipe, but I love the smell of dragon's blood and the beauty it has in the look of a light oil. So I added it in small chunks. Excellent. Small chunks of dragon's blood. Where are they? Dragon's blood is great. It will amplify any spell, in my opinion, and lots of other witches. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's one of my favorite smells of incense ever, and I've only known about it for like the last 3 years of my life. This is sweet myrrh in there. I will add another chunk of that. You want to be blessing these and holding your intentions over them as you're putting them in. Spend time with this, you guys. I'm going to put some powdered dragon's blood into my refresher as well. Not my original, but my refresher. Oh, the smell of that's amazing. And I don't want it to get stuck to the stone, so I'm going to give it a shake. You guys want to be really careful. There's a crystal in here, and this is glass. So until you find your confidence, give it a shake. You could also put an orange circle right at the bottom, like this, so that when you shook it, if you put an orange right at the bottom inside, when you shook it, it would kind of protect that. And every time before I use this, you gotta shake it, because all those resins that you put in, the powdered and the, you know, chunks, they sit at the bottom. You gotta shake this. Shake, shake, shake. So I'm sorry if this is confusing because I'm refilling it and telling you how to make it. My apologies if that's the case, but you guys are clever. So here is dragon's blood. It is the resin from a palm tree, basically. And it looks, you know, like a brick with little, it looks like astronaut ice cream. Anyway, I'm trying to get good pictures, but. So these are my mother rocks, and I added the powdered. I'm not going to add any of this. This is precious to me. Whew, it's precious to me. And that mother rock, this jar, actually, when I did a What's in My Purse video with Irene, this whole jar was in my purse. She's like, what's this doing in your purse? I open this and smell it all the time. I feel like it comforts me. It totally grounds me, brings me back to happiness. And that is why I put it into this oil. Is because if I need to feel protection and from negativity and depression, my first thing is I need to get back into happiness. I need to get back into the good mood and the good mental focus. Okay, so that's why the dragon's blood is in there. Plus it will amplify really any spell, like I said when I was over there. Okay. Then, and the beauty it has in the look of the light oil. So I added some small chunks. Then it was still clear, like when I shook it up. So I decided to really make it my own. I made it I added in a total of 7 orange slices, so I just filled more in the jar. And then I added dragon's blood powder, like I did just now, which made it like this dark red, basically. So what I'm saying in this was it was looking more like clear like this, and I was like, how do I get it to look like weird and cool and red, you know? And that's how I did it, was adding in the powdered incense of dragon's blood. When you powder this red rock, it turns pink, and then it turns your oil into a red not liquor, I just don't know a better word for it, you know. Sorry. Wish I did know a better word for it, because that one doesn't fit so well. Then I added dragon's blood powder and frankincense powder. So now this oil is getting expensive, right, with the dragon's blood and the frankincense. Do you see the price, like, really adding up? I think after you fill up this bottle with all that stuff, it would, you know, cost $45 to make. So I'm not going to lie about the price. If you did it without the quartz crystal, it would be, you know, $25 less. But yeah, you know, these chunk resins and stuff, they're not inexpensive. But once you build them in your collection, you'll have them for a long time if you get enough of them. So I guess just get what you need, but at the same time, I like to have things on hand enough for 6 months at a time. Because if there was some kind of disaster, and I'm not even joking, I would feel so separated without my things. Alright, so I added until the scent was perfect, until it looked rich red like blood. I will wear this daily as my new scent, and I sealed it with a black and a white candle at the top, black being all colors and white both purity and to represent my 3 birthstones, Pearl and Moonstone. Why did I say? 2 of my 3 birthstones, Pearl and Moonstone. Put Moonstone on top while I was burning the candle. And sprinkled powdered frankincense into the flame. When you sprinkle resin incense or frankincense into the flame, it sparks and crackles, so that kind of like amplified that. You could also use saltpeter to do that. So yes, I blessed it in the moonlight, and just I showed you how to redo it. So sorry this video went into 30 minutes. Thanks for joining me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, while we redid this spell on the beautiful, beautiful Halloween and Samhain. Come back with me.